Hey everyone, this is Stephen. It's the 22nd of February 2017 and already we're at the end of the second month of this calendar year and quarter one is nearly done. We've had a huge start to the year here at FlowXO. Everyone wants to talk to us about a chatbot, and rightly so. I think they're definitely the business technology to adopt in 2017. Today I'm going to show you how to get your very own chatbot in place. And let you help you make more sales and cut down on customer service people hours in the remaining weeks of this quarter and beyond. So, an official welcome to FlowXO's Getting Started webcast, where we'll get you up and running with FlowXO with an introduction to its key features and benefits, specifically in relation to its broadcast service for marketing, its messaging service for contacting human agents in real time. That one's really important. We're going to be looking at human augmenting your bot for maximum effectiveness. And we're going to look at how to collect data through a conversational form. We're going to be looking at launching a bot on Facebook Messenger primarily, and then launching access to the same bot as a custom widget on your website, as well as providing a full-fledged web messenger directly embedded in your own website or landing page. You'll see that the core strength of FlowXO is our cross-platform focus, which the web messenger is largely an extension of. You're going to build a bot once, but you're going to have it present everywhere. If there's anything specific you'd like to see today, just get into live chat now or drop in a note into our community. If you haven't been there yet, I'll give you some links for that at the end. I've had some good chat already in our channel, so I know Animesh, you're looking for something in particular out of here. Hilton, I will speak to you a little bit later on. And George, thanks for your email. We'll cover off some of those points as well. So a quick reminder, what is FlowXO? Well, first of all, it's the future of business messaging, and you know that must be true because it says it right there over my shoulder. But in more direct terms, FlowXO is a complete platform for building, hosting, and managing chatbots for messaging platforms such as Messenger, Slack, and Telegram. It includes a visual editor to build bots without code. Everything is driven by a set of flows which you build out with certain tasks. You can create and distribute your own bots, which are owned and branded by you, but controlled and hosted by FlowXO. I'm running this cast live so that I can maximize your time and provide everything you need to get started right in this session. So let us solve any queries or give any guidance you need right away. Again, just to reiterate, there is live chat, so by all means get talking to the team and I over on the right. Okay, down to business. Let's get onto my desktop. So my example business for today is the Mortgage Store, who are the home of the Mortgage Bot. The Mortgage Store are a typical mortgage broker who are regulated to advise customers on mortgage loans, and they have this Facebook page in place. They've got a range of products available: first-time buyer, remortgage, buy-to-let, or second home mortgages. Just a little bit more context, the Mortgage Store simply wants to communicate with customers better, provide a more engaging experience, divert basic queries away from the resource-intensive phone line, and ultimately write more business. If you got my email, you should have a bot in place by now, and Messenger open and ready to go, as well as Google Sheets, Gmail, of course, Messenger. We'll take a closer look at that setup in a few minutes, but first of all, let's dive right in and have a look at our bot in action. I'm going to launch him fresh here, just sign into Facebook, just so that you can see that clicking Get Started for our bot is going to give us some specific welcome text as though we're a new customer. Again, we're launching him here into Messenger, but later we'll see how FlowXO is platform agnostic and is easily accessible from your own web page, either as a widget, directed out to Messenger and other platforms, as well as a full-fledged web messenger. So you can see, clicking Get Started here is going to give us a specific trigger to welcome new first-time customers. And you can see that right away, he wants to get us right on track by giving some option buttons. He's trying to fulfill his purpose and direct customers to the things that he can't help them with right away. However, it's important that he can handle some basic conversation. So let's say hello. And you can see he wants to get right to the point again. He greets us, but again, he wants to get right to the point and deliver and divert us to that menu, to the things that he's been programmed to handle. So he doesn't want the customer to get lost. But I'm more interested here if he knows his name. I'm going to be a little bit mischievous and type in a question rather than click for the menu that he's offered. Okay, so you can see he's easily counted that too. And he's constantly directing us back into the bot's purpose through this menu, which is the whole point of having the bot out there. It's really easy to set up this basic conversational small talk and capture any and all things that are thrown at the bot. We'll look at some flows in a moment so you can see how easy it was to put this together. Just a final try here to stress this point. We'll ask him to tell me a joke. And you can see that's well handled. Again, we're not here to mess around, we're here to do business. So let's get on with it and click for the menu. So let's get back into our context. Let's assume that right away here I'm a customer, I'm in Messenger, and I want an update on my mortgage inquiry. Whilst case updates could in fact be handled by the bot, I'm more interested in what a human broker has to say. I'm desperate to complete on my mortgage deal. So I'm going to select talk to a human, which is offered here. But you can see we've run into a problem. We've returned some standard small talk and helper text. Unfortunately, this flow isn't in place yet, so let's go and resolve that. So here we are at the flow dashboard. Just a quick shout out to what's going on over here. Well, first and foremost, we have a set of folders so that I can arrange my flows, and it's great for managing what the bot does, tweaking functionality, organizing flows for different events or perhaps for different customers if you're managing their bots for them. There's also a referral link here. If you encourage your friends to use the platform via social media, you can earn rewards in the way of extra interactions and bots or flows. Now, let's look at how easy it is to resolve our issue, speaking to a human agent. So, Animesh, this is going to be really interesting for you. We're going to look now at how we get this human interaction in place. I'm going to use Gmail, but it's really important, as you point out in chat, you're using Freshdesk. We can use Freshdesk, Salesforce Desk, anywhere that we can receive an email, we can link up this messaging feature. So we're going to hit new flow. We're going to choose message a human. And you can see everything's put in place for me. I just need to turn this flow on, and I just need to edit the only task that we have here, which has a problem with missing outputs. So in here is where I put my email address, and again, this can be a Dropbox address. We could route this directly into Zendesk, into Freshdesk, into salesforcedesk.com. I just need to put in the email address I'd like to route to. And we're going to offer a reply shortcut here as well, so that this customer can get back to us directly and restart this flow. So I've turned that on, I've installed it, back over in Messenger. Now when I ask to talk to a human, you can see we're getting a different flow, the one we've just installed run this time. And I'll say I'd like an update on my case. The bot's going to respond. I'll be back to you in a few working hours. I'm giving the option to send another message if I'm not satisfied with that response and chase this agent up. But then over in my email, you can see here from the perspective of the agent of the mortgage store now. So this could be me sat in front of Freshdesk or salesforcedesk.com, anywhere I've routed that email to. I'm going to look at the email, and I can reply directly to the customer in Messenger. I can route this message directly back. And hitting send. The response comes directly back into Messenger, and I have the option, as we saw in the flow, to reply directly back to the agent of the mortgage store rather than talk to the bot. So you can see there in a few minutes, minus my elaboration, we've got a fully human augmented bot in place by use of the FlowXO template. It was one click, a minor change that I needed to make, and it was ready to go. We're going to look again at this service in a few minutes in a sales context, so I'm going to talk more about it, so don't worry if you didn't catch everything there. We'll recover it in just a few minutes. But first of all, let's stay with our context. Let's make sure as the customer that I'm perhaps not satisfied with the answer I got there, and I want to make sure I've made the best choice before I commit to a deal. Let's get another quote and stay on top of the market. So I'm going to hit get a quote here. And again, unfortunately, you can see that I've run into the same problem. This flow is not ready, but it's a good job that additional flows are so easy to put in place. So let's resolve this again. This time, however, we're going to build this custom flow together. Over in FlowXO, I'm going to go into my forms folder, and the reason I've called this forms is because this is going to act like a conversational form. So anywhere that you can see you've got a web form where people are presented with a set of fields to go and try and fill out and give you all their details, end up abandoning the form. We're going to resolve that issue now by having a conversation with this customer and collecting the information as we go. Let's turn this workflow on. I've got the trigger in place here already. Just edit that just to take a quick look. We're going to trigger on the keyword quote. It's important to keep our interactions engaging, so let's send a message back to the customer right away. Then we'll ask a question. So you can imagine these are the fields on my form on my website. Ask a question, and this question is going to be, we're going to say, I have your name, down as, and now I'm going to use the FlowXO output here on the right, and by clicking that I can see all the things that in this case Facebook is going to give back to me. So I can get the username, the user first name, the user last name. We're just going to insert the username just by clicking here, and we're going to ask for the email address, their email address. The validation I want on the answer that I get back is of course email address, so that I make sure I get an email address given to me. We'll ask another question. This time we'll ask for the person's cell or mobile number. And we'll validate this as an integer, so we make sure we get a number back. This time we're going to ask a slightly more interesting question. We're going to ask for the person's salary. So I'm just going to put a bit of pre-prepared text in here. Ask a question. And this time I'm going to put a little emoji in here as well, just to make this question a little bit friendlier. It's important that we validate this one as integer, and you'll see why in just a moment. The next thing I'm going to do here is I'm now going to use a FlowXO helper function, one of our utility services, and I'm going to perform a calculation. I'm going to use the number service. I'm going to calculate the expression, again using the FlowXO outputs here on the right. I want to take the answer to that last question we asked about the salary, and I'm going to times it by 4.5 times, which is a typical mortgage lending criteria. Again, important to keep the interaction engaging. So before we do anything further, let's send a message back to the customer now. I'm going to send a message, and again, a little bit of pre-prepared text here. You can see that I'm going to give them an indication of the mortgage that we can lend them, which was the result of the calculation. Just need to pick it from the FlowXO outputs, and it'll insert it at the right place. There's the result. And another little emoji there, just to keep things nice and friendly. Now on to two more slightly exciting actions. First of all, we took a quick look at this Google Sheet here. So you can see here are the column headers, and I've got one row of data in here already. It'd be nice to be able to fill out this sheet just like we would with a typical web form. So you can imagine this sheet is a proxy for a database or for any CRM system you already have in place. I'm using a Google Sheet just because it's really easy to set up and use. But now I'm going to select the Google Sheets action. Again, when I say it can act as a proxy, you'll see That's because we already support over 100 services in Floexo. There's Google Sheets we're going to use in a moment. But we also have Pipedrive CRM, we've got FLG, we've got some Salesforce and Zoho functions in here. So let's select Google Sheets and we're going to add a row. I need to select the sheet and new customer, and you can see here Floexo has cleverly gone away and it's retrieved all of those fields that I already have in my sheet, all of those column headers. So all I've got to do now is match up the outputs that I get from Floexo into those fields. So the name we know we got back from Facebook. The email was the answer to our first question. Mobile was the answer to our second question. The salary was the answer to our third question. And the mortgage amount was the result of our calculation in there. I'll save that. And I said we'd return to the messaging service. I'm going to do that here because in this circumstance, somebody's just filled out their detail on our in our conversational form. And so it makes sense that we'll get a sales agent at the mortgage store to get back in touch with them right away and try and close this deal. So I'm going to send a message to email through the messaging service. The email address, we'll use the same address again. Again, I've used the same address, but that could be any email address. In the real world, you'd probably route this through to a sales desk rather than through to the standard support email address. So you can diversify where these messages are going to in your team and route them accordingly, but then have the communication coming back all into the same channel. And we will just enter some detail here. For the sales agent's benefit, we'll give them this person's name so that they can address them. And the mortgage amount we know was the result of our calculation there. I'll save. I've turned the workflow on. Back in Messenger now. This time when I ask to get a quote, we'll now run the flow. Give our salary. And this time the response to come back will give us the calculated amount that we can provisionally offer and also some detail that somebody's going to be in touch really soon. So let's check that's happened. You can see here again this message has been routed through to Gmail to the same inbox. You'd probably route it to a sales agent of the mortgage store in this case. By clicking that message, here's the information I've got through, and the sales agent can now respond and try and close this deal. Back in Messenger, the response has come in for us there. Over in Google Sheets, you can see I've also now logged this new sales lead via my conversational form, and I've updated my spreadsheet in this case, but it could be my database or my CRM system, and collected the information there. So that human augmentation is really important. Two things that I just want to point out at this stage. The first is a VentureBeat article that was put out. It was in late December, in fact, but I think it's still incredibly pertinent. You should take a look at this if you get a chance, and I'll share this link later. But also a fantastic blog piece that our MD John wrote up just a few days ago about implementing human takeover in Floexo. So rather than have a transient period where the bot and the human are talking to the customer, you can switch between modes by following the detail you're given here, so that you can understand whether you're having a conversation with a human through the messenger interface or you're talking exclusively to the bot. And you can switch between those two really easily. So that's well worth a read, and I'll share that link with you later as well. Okay, just back into our context a little bit. Let's ask for the menu because I'm not quite happy as the customer with everything that I've seen so far. Perhaps I'm more interested in getting some updates on the mortgage products I might eventually want to purchase. I know that interest rates move around a lot. The quote wasn't quite to my liking. I'm not ready to dive in just yet, but I might like to revisit when rates are right for me. So let's subscribe. And I'm going to choose which products I'd like to get regular offers on. I'm going to choose remortgage. And you can see I'm already signed up now to all the updates that this bot and this company, the mortgage store, might want to send to me. Let's go and have a look at how that's powered. So over in FlowXO, back to my flows, and we're going to look at the subscribe flow. Now you can see here that I'm going to trigger on the keyword or phrase subscribe. Next, I'm going to ask the question that we wanted to ask, which is the product type that you want to subscribe to. And you can see here I've chosen the question type of choice rather than text this time, so I could give those 4 options. I'm then going to use the attribute service. Now, attributes are really important for determining control flow. Attributes can act like a counter, how many times somebody visited, or a flag, somebody said a specific word. It's a really simple key value store, but incredibly powerful for filtering your flows. It's important to know that these attributes, they're specific to each customer based on this response path that's generated here, and they're available in the trigger of every flow, and you're going to see that's important in just a couple of minutes. First of all, though, we just need to log the attribute as product and the product interest as the answer that the customer gave to us. So let's see how useful this really is. When I go to flows, I'm going to choose the broadcast marketing flow. And it's in this flow that I'm going to be sending out marketing messages. It's important to note that this service, the broadcast service, is going to send our message to absolutely everybody that has our bot installed by default. Of course, that's great. One trigger, like an email, a webhook, or an RSS feed item being received, and all of our users and customers get the content. However, it's important to use filters, as you can see I've filtered here, to make sure that only the correct customers get the type of offer or the type of information that I want to send. Here, I'm going to use a webhook. If you haven't used these before, don't worry. I've used it here just to demonstrate how easy it is to get information into and out of FlowXO. From any web-connected app, you can trigger a workflow and use the data that is sent from the app in your flow and therefore in conversation with the customer. Of course, you can webhook out too. So let's trigger this flow now. You can see here, these are the conditions I've set up on this trigger to make sure I only send this marketing message to the correct customers. I'll just paste this webhook into the address bar. And you can see here, I've posted through my message straight through to the messenger channel instantaneously. I'm just going to go to the options and the logs here just to show you what's happening in the background. You can see here, this is where we received our webhook, and this is the card that we sent that we saw in Messenger just a few minutes ago. Importantly, I have filtered out 2 actions here, these 2 actions being people that have the bot installed but don't have that correct attribute set against them. So again, I used a webhook here, but you'd be glad to know that you can also trigger with an email or by consuming an existing RSS feed. You might already have one on your site, and even better, you guessed it, there's already a template for that, so it's just a few clicks to get in place. Let's do that now. Click newsfeed, turn this workflow on, and we're going to look for new items in an RSS feed, and we're going to use, in this case, the BBC News website here in the UK. Following that, we're going to send a card. All I need to do is populate these inputs, the image URL, the link URL, and the text that's to be displayed into the correct inputs. Again, they all came from the FlowXO output button here. By the end of this cast, I'm sure we'll see some news stories posted through, and we'll see that in real time. Okay, let's just look at a final review here, just some finishing touches. Firstly, here's the small talk flow that we saw when we first ran the bot. You can see here that in this trigger, I'm looking for lots of different words and phrases. So it's all things that are commonly said to the bot when somebody first visits the bot to try and break it or to try and test it. You can see that I've also grouped them into different types of interaction, and the reason I've done that is that it's going to make filtering easy when I get further down the flow, as I can filter based on this group name and respond in the same way to similar words or phrases. Just to show that in real time, looking at the first action here, this is the greeting filter that I'm going to use. I'm going to respond in this manner. I'm going to give the menu back as a shortcut, but I only want to do that if the group type of this phrase that was said to the bot is greeting. I'm also going to stop this flow at this stage so that I don't say anything else further down the flow. Our welcome and help flow here is a little bit different in how it's triggered because we're using a catch-all. So we're not going to trigger like we do other flows when somebody says a specific word that we understand. We're going to trigger this flow when somebody says something to us that we don't understand. That's important because you can imagine there are lots of things you might not capture every edge case, but this will allow you to give a personalized response even when we don't understand what's said to us. We're going to use the code service here in the next action. The code service is a really powerful way to do, well, whatever it is you want, really. It can make requests to other apps or services that FlowXO doesn't already support. It can perform custom manipulation or calculations on data, and it can use the output in conversation with the customer. We've used a really simple example here, but the options are limitless. If you want to interact with your CRM, your calling or dialer system, or any other web-connected app, you can do it with this service. Be sure to talk to us to see how you can get the best out of it. In this case, I'm just going to take an input of the person's name and split it out so that I get their first name. I'm then able to either show something via a filter just on the first connection, as we saw, looking out for the get started or start keyword, or I can generally respond when I don't understand something, like we saw when we hadn't built out the flows yet. Make sure get the filtering correct so we only respond at the right time. Okay, so that's our bot launched on Messenger. Here's a news story that's just come through as promised. So that has come directly from our RSS feed that we connected up. Okay, and next thing to look at is, now that we're launched on Messenger, let's think about having this bot present elsewhere as well. Well, first thing to look at, I'm going to create a little widget here, and by clicking Get Code, I generate this little snippet of JavaScript. All I need to do, don't worry if you're not a web developer, is give that to my web developer, copy it out there, send that over to him along with that one-line instruction. About 30 seconds work. You can install that in your website, in your landing pages, and you'll get a little speech bubble like that. Clicking that will allow you to launch directly from your website into Messenger and have a conversation with the bot, as we've seen. A little bit more exciting, we can directly integrate into your website a chat feature rather than use Messenger or a social media platform. Slightly more code this time. But exactly the same principle. I just need to copy out the code, get my web developer to paste that into my website, and you'll get this result here. You can see I'm going to have exactly the same conversation that I had over in Messenger. And now, when I want to get a quote, I'll be taken directly through the same flow that we saw in Messenger. So, build that bot once, reiterate the point, you've built it once. FlowXO is platform agnostic, it's present everywhere. No matter how your customer tries to contact you, they'll always get the same experience, and it'll tie up all of your external portals into, say, Freshdesk on the back end for managing those inquiries. So here you can see we've got the basis of a really good, well-distributed bot. We have some marketing functions in place with the broadcast service. We're able to point out options to brand new customers right away and can respond when we don't understand a particular message with some small talk. We've also looked at data collection and configuring human interaction directly through the bot with a messaging service, both very powerful customer service and sales tools. So this is it, crunch time. I hope you've seen how easy it is to get started and you have some of your own ideas about what you'll build next. Here's what the pricing looks like. So for only $19 a month, you can build 15 bots or flows and accommodate 5,000 interactions. There's no contract or tie-in period, and you can downgrade to a free plan at any time. Because you have been kind enough to watch today, I'd like to sweeten the deal just a little bit. Here are the links to the flows that we built out together that weren't present as standard templates, so that you can get that quote form in place right away with one click. If you did want to do that and get all the other templated flows in place as well, you will need more than the 5 flows that are available in the free edition. So I'll also give you your first month free if you sign up in the next 24 hours. You just have to use the coupon code Skype001. Some extra special news this week. The reason the code is named Skype is that if you use that coupon right now, I'll also throw in a 15-minute Skype call within the next few days to really get you up and running with your bot. I'm not going to be offering that very often, but I'm hoping to get some really great bots launched at the start of this year. So with no tie-in period, this means you can completely de-risk your own bot launch. Don't forget, this video is going to be online for a short while later, so you can get those links if you need them. Finally, just a few resources to be aware of. There are extensive help docs at support.flowxo.com in our user support center. There's a really lively community at community.flowxo.com. It's a great place to run your ideas by us, run them by other members, and help us drive what we're going to develop next in the platform. And we've already taken a quick look at our blog. Let's just revisit there, which is full of use cases that have been built out and step-by-step instructions you can follow in order to build out some really interesting flows. So thanks for watching, everybody. It's been really great to build that bot out with you today. Please get signed up and tell me more about your use case. I'm going to be over on live chat now for a little while. I'll be delighted to help you get started building out. We'll be running this session weekly. I'll be here again next week, so feel free to come and watch again if you like. The core content won't change, but if you have a specific case, perhaps I can build that into next week's session. Make sure to hit subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're going to have some exciting announcements coming up, which will demonstrate with some good video content. So get in touch. I'd love to hear from you. Remember to use the coupon today. We can get a 15-minute call booked in to discuss your bot and really get you started. See you all soon.